Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Chapter 21. Maitreya Uvacha Mauktikai Kusumas Sragbhir Dukulais Swarnatoranaihi Mahasura Bhibir Manditam Tatra Tatra Vai. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, when the king entered his city, it was very beautifully decorated to receive him with pearls, flower gardens, beautiful cloth, and golden gates, and the entire city was perfumed with highly fragrant incense. Chandana Guruto Yadra Atyachattvaramargavat Ratya Chandana Guruto Yardra Ratya Chattvaramargavat Pushpakshatapalais Taukmair Lajairarchirbhirarchitam. Fragrant water distilled from sandalwood and agaru herb was sprinkled everywhere on the lanes, roads, and small parks throughout the city, and everywhere were decorations of unbroken fruits, flowers, wetted grains, varied minerals, and lamps, all presented an auspicious paraphernalia. Savrundhai Savrundhai Kadalistambhaihi Pugapotai Parishkrutam Tarupallavamalabihi Sarvatas Samalam Krutam. At the street crossings, there were bunches of fruits and flowers, as well as pillars of banana trees and betel nut flowers. All these combined decorations everywhere looked very attractive. Prajastam Deepa Balibihi Sambruta Shesha Mangalaihi Abhiyurmrushtakanyascha Mrushtakundala. As the king entered the gate of the city, all the citizens received him with many auspicious articles like lamps, flowers, and yogurt. The king was also received by many beautiful unmarried girls whose bodies were bedecked with various ornaments, especially with earrings which collided with one another. शङ्खदुन्दुभिघोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण चर्त्विजां विवेशभवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो गतस्मयः. When the king entered the palace, conch shells, the kettle drums were sounded, priests chanted Vedic mantras, and professional reciters offered different prayers. But in spite of all this ceremony to welcome him, the king was not the least bit affected. Pujitah pujayamasa tatra tatra mahayashaha paurajanapadam stan preetah priyavarapradaha. Both the important citizens and common citizens welcomed the king very heartily, and he also bestowed upon them their desired blessings. स एवमादीन्यनवद्यचेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शशासावनिमण्डलं यशः स्पीतं निधायारुरुहे परं padam. King Prthu was greater than the greatest soul and was therefore worshipable by everyone. He performed many glorious activities in ruling over the surface of the world and was always magnanimous. After achieving such great success and a reputation which spread throughout the universe, he at last obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. सूत उवाच तदा तदादिराजस्य यशो विजृम्भितं गुणैरशेषैर्गुणवत्सभाजितं क्षत्ता महाभागवतः सदस्पते कौशारविं प्राह गुणन्तमर्चयन्. Sutta Goswami continued, O Saunaka, leader of the great sages, after hearing Maitreya speak about the various activities of King Prthu, the original king, who was fully qualified, glorified, and widely praised all over the world, Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following question. Vidura uvacha sobhishiktaf pruturviprair labdhashesha bibratsa vaishnavam tejo bahoryabhyam dudohagam. Vidura said, My dear Brahmana, Maitreya, it is very enlightening to understand that King Prthu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmanas. All the demigods presented him with innumerable gifts, and he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. Thus, he greatly developed the earth. Kon vasya kirtim na shrunothyabhigno yadvikramochistamashesha bhupaha lokasapala upajivanti kamam adhyapi tanme vada karma shuddham. Prthu Maharaja was so great in his activities and magnanimous in his method of ruling that all the kings and the demigods on the various planets still follow his footsteps. Who is there who will not try to hear about the glorious activities? I wish to hear more and more about Prthu Maharaja because his activities are so pious and auspicious. Maitreya uvacha Ganga Yamunayor Nadyorantara Kshetra Mavasan Arabdhaneva Bubuje Bhogan Punya Jihasaya. The great saintly sage Maitreya told Vidura, My dear Vidura, King Prthu lived in the tract of land between the two great rivers, Ganga and Yamuna. Because he was very opulent, it appeared that he was enjoying his destined fortune in order to diminish the results of his past pious activities. Sarvatraskalita deshaha saptadvipaikadandadhruk anyatra brahmana kulad anyatra chuta gotrataha. Maharaja Prthu was an unrivaled king and possessed the scepter for ruling all the 7 islands on the surface of the globe. No one could disobey his irrevocable orders but the saintly persons, the Brahmanas, and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnavas. एकदासीन्महा सत्र दीक्षा तत्र दिवौकसां समाजो ब्रह्मर्षिणां च राजर्षीणां च सत्तमा. Once upon a time, King Prthu initiated the performance of a very great sacrifice, in which great saintly sages, Brahmanas, demigods from higher planetary systems, and great saintly kings known as Rajarshis also assembled together. तस्मिन्नर्हत्सु सर्वेषु स्वर्चितेषु यथार्हतः उत्थितः सदशो मध्ये ताराणामुहुराडिव. In that great assembly, Maharaja Prthu first of all worshipped all the respectable visitors according to their respective positions. After this, he stood up in the midst of the assembly, and it appeared that the full moon had arisen amongst the stars. Pramshuh पीनायत भुजो गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासः सुमुखः सौभ्यः पीनांसः सुद्विजस्मितः. King Prthu's body was tall and sturdy, and his complexion was fair. His arms were full and broad, and his eyes are bright as the rising sun. His nose was straight, his face very beautiful, and his personality grave. His teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. Vyudavaksha bruhachronir balivalgudalodaraha आवर्तनाभिरोजस्वी काञ्चनोरुरुदग्रपात्. The chest of Maharaja Prthu was very broad, his waist was very thick, and his abdomen, wrinkled by lines of skin, resembled in construction of a leaf of a banyan tree. His navel was coiled and deep, his thighs were of golden hue, and his instep was arched. Sukshma vakrasi tad snigdha murdhajah kambukandaraha mahadhane दुकूलाग्र्ये पारिधायोपवीयच. The black slick hair on his head was very fine and curly, and his neck, like a conch shell, was decorated with auspicious lines. He wore a very valuable dhoti, and there was a nice wrapper on the upper part of his body. Vyanjita sheshagatrashrir niramenyastabhushanaha krishna jinadara shriman kushapani krutochitaha. As Maharaja Prthu was being initiated to perform the sacrifice, he had to leave aside his valuable dress, and therefore his natural bodily beauty was visible. It was very pleasing to see him put on a black deerskin and wear a ring of kusha grass on his finger, for this increased the natural beauty of his body. It appears that Maharaja Prthu observed all regulatory principles before he performed the sacrifice. Shishirasrigdaratakshah समैक्षत समन्ततः ऊचिवानिदुमुर्वीशः सदः संहर्षयन्निव. Just to encourage the members of the assembly and to enhance their presence, King Prthu glanced over them with eyes that seemed like stars in the sky wet with dew. He then spoke to them in great voice. चारुचित्रपदं श्लक्ष्णं मृष्टं गूढमविक्लवं सर्वेषामुपकारार्थं तदा अनुवदन्निव. Maharaja Prthu's speech was very beautiful, full of metaphorical language, clearly understandable, and very pleasing to hear. His words were all grave and certain. It appears that when he spoke, he expressed his personal realization of absolute truth in order to benefit all who were present. Rajovacha sabhyaha shrunuta badram vassadhavo sabhyaha shrunuta badram vaha sadhavo ya इहागताः सत्सु जिज्ञासुभिर्धर्मम् आवेद्यं स्वमनीषितम्. King Prthu said, O gentle messengers of the assembly, may all good fortune be upon you. May all of you great souls who have come to attend this meeting kindly hear my prayer attentively. A person who is actually inquisitive must present his decision before an assembly of noble souls. Aham dandadharo raja prajanamiha yojitaha rakshita vrittidhasveshu steshu shustapita prutak. King Prthu continued, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of this planet, and I carry the scepter to rule the citizens, protect them from all danger, and give them employment according to their respective positions in social order established by Vedic injunction. Tasya me tadanushtāna dhyānāhur brahmavādinaha lokastuh kama sandoha yasya tushyati dishtadrik. Maharaja Prthu said, I think that upon the execution of my duties as king, I shall be able to achieve the desirable objectives described by experts in Vedic knowledge. This destination is certainly achieved by the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the seer of all destiny. Ya uddaretkaram raja prajadharmeshva shikshayan prajanam shamalam bhunkte bhagam cha swayam jahati saha. Any king who does not teach his citizens about his respective duties in terms of varna and ashrama, but who simply exacts tolls and taxes from them is liable to suffer for the impious activities which have been performed by the citizens. In addition to such degradation, the king also loses his own fortune. Tat praja bhartrupindartham swartamevānasūyavaha kuruta dhokshajak jiyastarhi menugraha krutaha. Prthu Maharaja continued, Therefore, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your possessions of varna and ashramas, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you will protect your own interests, and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. Yūyam tadanumodadvam pitrudevarshayo malaha kartuh Shasturanujñatuhu tulyam yat pretya tatpalam. I request all the pure hearted demigods, forefathers, and saintly persons to support my proposal, for after death, the result of action is equally shared by its doer, its director, and its supporter. Asti yajnapatirnama केषाञ्चिदर्हसत्तमाः इहामुत्र च लक्ष्यन्ते ज्योत्स्नावत्यः क्वचिद् ब्रुवः. My dear respectful ladies and gentlemen, according to the authoritative statements of the Shastras, there must be a supreme authority who is able to award the respective benefits of our present activities. Otherwise, why should there be persons who are unusually beautiful and powerful both in this life and in the life after death? मनोरुत्थानपादस्य ध्रुवस्यापि महीपतेः प्रियव्रतस्य राजर्षेर् अङ्गस्यास्मत्पितुः पितुः ईदृशा नाम तान्येषाम् अजस्य च भवस्य च प्रह्लादस्य बलेश्चापि कृत्यमस्ति गदाभृता. This is confirmed not only by evidence of the Vedas but also by the personal behavior of all personalities like Manu, Uttanapada, Dhruva, Priyavrata, and my grandfather Anga, as well as many other personalities and ordinary living entities, exemplified by Maharaja, Prahalada, and Bali, all of whom are theses, believing in the existence of Supreme Personality of Godhead who carries a club. Dauhitradinrute mrutyoho sochyan dharma vimohitan vargasvargapavarganam prayenaikatmya. Although abominable persons like my father, Vena, the grandson of death personified, are bewildered on the path of religion, all the great personalities like those mentioned agree that in this world the only bestower of benedictions of religion, economic development, sense gratification, liberation, or elevation to the heavenly planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. यत्पादसेवाभिरुचिस्तपस्विना मशेषजन्मोपचितं मलं धियः सद्य क्षीणोत्यनवहेमधीसति यथा पदाङ्गुष्ठविनिष्टिसृता सरित्. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which was accumulated in their minds during the innumerable births, like the Ganga water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. विनिर्धृता शेषमनोमलः पुमान् असङ्गविज्ञानविशेषवीर्यवान् यदङ्घ्रिमूले कृतकेतनः पुनर्न संसृतिं क्लेशवहां प्रपद्यते. When a devotee takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is completely cleansed of all misunderstanding or mental speculation, and he manifests renunciation. This is possible only when one is strengthened by practicing bhakti yoga, Once having taken shelter at the root of the lotus feet of the Lord, a devotee never comes back to this material existence, which is full of threefold miseries. तमेव यूयं भजतात्मवृत्तिभिर्मनोवचः कायगुणैः स्वकर्मभिः अमायिनः कामदुगाङ्घ्रिपङ्कजं यताधिकारावसितार्थसिद्धयः. Prthu Maharaja advised his citizens, engaging your minds, your words, your bodies, and the results of your occupational duties, and being always open-minded, you should all render devotional service to the Lord according to your abilities and occupations in which you are situated. You should engage your service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full confidence and without reservation. Then you will surely be successful in achieving the final objective in your lives. असाविहानेकगुणो गुणोद्वरः पृथग्विदद्रव्यगुणाक्रियोक्तिभिः सम्पद्यतेऽर्ताशयलिङ्गनामभिर्विशुद्धविज्ञानघनस्वरूपतः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental and not contaminated by this material world, but although he is concentrated spirit soul without material variety for the benefit of the conditioned soul, he nevertheless accepts different types of sacrifice performed with various material elements, rituals, and mantras, and offered to demigods under different names according to the interests and purposes of the performers. प्रधानकालाशयधर्मसङ्ग्रहे शरीर एष प्रतिपद्यचेतनां क्रियाफलत्वेन विभुर्विभाव्यते यतानलो धारुषु तद्गुणात्मकः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervading, but he is also manifested in different types of bodies which arise from a combination of material nature, time, desires, and occupational duties. Thus, different types of consciousness develop just as fire, which is always basically the same blazes in different ways according to the shape and dimension of the firewood. Aho mamami vitaranthyanugraham harim gurum yajnabujamadhishwaram swadharma yogena yajanti mamaka nirantaram kshonitale drudavrataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices, and he is the supreme spiritual master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping me by the dint of your occupational duties are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O citizens, I thank you. Ma jatu tejah prabhaven mahardibis titikshaya tapasa vidyaya cha dedipyamane jita devatanam kule swayam rajakula dvijanam. The Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, performance, knowledge, and education. By the dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit in material prowess, because these two commodities should avoid offending them. Because these two communities should avoid offending them. ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महात्तमाग्रणीः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ancient eternal Godhead, who is foremost amongst all the personalities, obtained the opulence of his staunch reputation, which purifies the entire universe by worshipping the lotus feet of those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Yatsevaya Shesha Guha Yashah Swarad Viprapriyas तुष्यति काममीश्वरः तदेव तद्धर्मपरैर्विनीतैः सर्वात्मना ब्रह्मकुलं निषेव्यताम्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlastingly independent and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. For he is always dear to the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. Pumam labetaanativelamātmanah prasidatotyanta-shatam swatasvayam yennitya-sambandha-nishevaya tatah param kimatrasti mukam havirbhujam. By regular service to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, one can clear the dirt from his heart and thus enjoy supreme peace and liberation from material attachment and be satisfied. In this world, there is no fruitive activity superior to serving the Brahmana class, for this can bring pleasure to the demigods, from whom many sacrifices are recommended. Ashnatyanantah kalu tattvako divaihi ko vidaihi shraddhahutam yanmuka ijjanamabihi navaitata chetanaya bahishvrute hutashane paramahamsya paryaguhu. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ananta, eats through the fire sacrifices offered in the names of different demigods, he does not take any much pleasure in eating through fire, as he does in accepting offerings through the mouths of the learned sages and the devotees, for then he does not leave the association of devotees. Yad Brahma Nityam Virajam Sanatanam Shraddha Tapo Mangala Mauna Samyamaihi Samadhina Bibrati Harta Drushtaye Yatredamādharsha Ivava Bhasate. In Brahmanical culture, a Brahmana's transcendental position is eternally maintained because the injunctions of Vedas are accepted with faith, austerity, scriptural conclusions, full sense, and mind control and meditation. In this way, the real goal of life is illuminated, just as one's face is fully reflected in a clear mirror. Teshamaham pada sarojarenum arya वहेयाधिकिरीटमायुः यं नित्यदा बिभ्रत आशुपापं नश्यत्यमुं सर्वगुणा भजन्ति. O respectable personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you that I may perpetually carry on my crown the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmanas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon relieved of all the reactions which arise from sinful life, and eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. गुणायनं शीलधनं कृतज्ञं वृद्धाश्रयं संवृणतेऽनुसम्पदः प्रसीदतां ब्रह्मकुलं गवां च जनार्दनः सानुचरश्च मह्यम्. Whoever acquires the Brahmanical qualification, whose only wealth is good behavior, who is grateful and who takes shelter of experienced persons, gets all the opulence of the world. I therefore wish that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates be pleased with the Brahmana class, with the cows, and with me. Maitreya uvacha iti bruvanam nrupatim पितृदेवद्विजातयः तुष्टदुर्वृहृष्टमनसः साधुवादेन साधवः. The great sage Maitreya said, after hearing King Prthu speak so nicely, all the demigods, the denizens of Pitraloka, the Brahmanas and the saintly persons present at the meeting congratulated him by expressing their goodwill. पुत्रेण जयते लोकान् इति सत्यवती श्रुतिः ब्रह्मदण्डहतः पापो यद्वेणोत्यतरत्तमः. Thus all declared that they all declared that the Vedic conclusion that one can conquer the heavenly planets by action of putra, a son, was fulfilled. For the most sinful Vena, who had been killed by the curse of Brahmanas, was now delivered from the darkest regions of the hellish life by his son, Maharaja Prthu. Hiranyakashipushchapi Bhagavan Nindaya Tamaha Vivikshuratyagat Sunoho Prahladasyanubhavataha. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu, who by dint of his sinful activities always defied the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered into the darkest region of hellish life, but by the grace of his great son Prahalada Maharaja, he also was delivered and went back home, back to Godhead. Veeravarya Pituh Prutvyah Samaha Sanjeeva Shashwatihi Yasredrushyachyute Bhaktihi Sarvalokaika Bhartari. All the saintly Brahmanas thus addressed Prthu Maharaja, O best of the warriors, O father of his globe, may you be blessed with a long life, for you have great devotion to infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of all universe. Aho vayam hrudya pavitra kirte tvanaiva natena mukundanataha ya uttama shloka tamasya vishnor brahmanya devasya kata vyanakti. The audience continued, O dear Prthu, your reputation is the purest of all, for you are preaching the glories of the most glorified of all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. the Lord of the Brahmanas, since you are our future, we have you as our master. We think that you are living directly under the agency of the Lord. Natyadbhutamidam nata tavajivyanushasanam prajanurago mahatam prakriti kurunatmanam. O dear Lord, it is your occupational duty to rule over your citizens. This is not a very wonderful task for the personality like you, who are so affectionate in seeing to the interests of citizens, because you are full of mercy. This is the greatness of your character. Adya nastamasa पारस्त्वयोपासादितः प्रभो भ्राम्यतां नष्टदृष्टीनां कर्मभिर्दैव संज्ञितैः. The citizens continued, "Today you have opened my eyes and revealed how to cross to the other side of the ocean of darkness. By our past deeds and by the arrangement of the superior authority, we are entangled in a network of fruitive activities and have lost sight of the destination of life. Thus, we have been wandering within the universe." Namo vivruddha sattvaya purushaya mahiyase yo brahma kshatramavishya bibhartidam swatejasa. Dear Lord, you are situated in your pure existential position of goodness. Therefore, you are the perfect representative of the Supreme Lord. You are glorified by your own prowess, and thus you are maintaining the entire world by introducing Brahmanical culture and protecting everyone in your line of duty as Kshatriya. Thus ends the chapter entitled Instructions by Maharaja Prthu. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.